Hey guys, if you didn't notice, I'm wearing the same shirt and the same beanie in the same room as last video. And by last video, I mean, wait, conversation can actually be fun, right? Where I was going over essentially principles of conversation, stuff like that. Go check it out. I'll link it in the description if you really want. But I'm gonna be talking about a little bit more of a personal thing. I'm gonna try to keep this video short, right? So I don't know what the title of this video is gonna be, but I'm sure it hints at what I'm going to be talking about. So, yeah, I submitted my first short story to a magazine that I'm not going to name, right? Um, and it got rejected. It got rejected like really swiftly, right? Like I submitted it 29th of November, or so about a month ago, a little bit less than a month ago, and they essentially took a break for like December and then came back Christmas time, right? And yeah, they were just immediately like, unfortunately, we're not going to publish your work, right? And that was like a really big, um, it was a little bit of a hit for me, right? Um, because I really thought that that story was good. It was one of the best stories that I ever think I've written, right? And I'm an amateur writer and stuff, right? And I like to poke fun at a lot of people's work who I don't really like. You know what I mean? Like Stephen King, I did that video, right? Which I might do an update video about that because I have read The Outsider, right? Which I referenced in that video, and it was good. But anyway, I'm not going to go on that tangent right now. So, um, I've always received great feedback about my writing, right? Like people have really praised me about it a lot, and that kind of built up a little bit of an ego that was honestly a little undeserved because I had never published anything before. And people sometimes will just say that just to make you feel good, right? So I submitted it, and I submitted it mostly because I needed the money, or I still need the money, right? And you know, getting rejected doesn't just mean not getting the recognition or the validation that my writing is good, but also missing out on that financial gain, which would have really helped me, right? So that's the premise of this video. I'm gonna again try to keep it short, just talk about like what I'm thinking, right? And hopefully people who have also gotten rejected, right? Um, by publishing houses, right? Whether it be a novel, a short story, poetry, um, flash fiction, right? I'm sure we could all relate to. I don't know. I feel like you almost think that sometimes you're the hero of your own story, right? Like that you're gonna make it no matter what, right? You know what I mean? Like other people have gotten rejected a lot, right? It's not gonna happen to me though, right? You know what I mean? Like you constantly like talk yourself up and be like, like yes, I might get rejected. There's like, there's a really good chance I'm gonna get rejected. Blah 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 all that stuff. And in the back of your mind, you probably like, oh, it's gonna work out. You know what I mean? It's fine. You bank a lot of your stuff on that, right? And it doesn't really work out like that, right? Um, and yeah, and another problem that I have right now is that um I'm not really in the story writing mood. I submitted that story 29th. I submitted another story to a separate magazine, right? Which I think that the second story is much worse. I think they're both good stories, but I think this one is much worse, much less better than the first one, right? Um and yeah, so I mean my thoughts right now essentially are that I kind of have to keep going, right? Like have this dream of sorts, right? Of just like writing and making people happy, right? And spreading my views of the world, of what I've learned, right? I'm only 22, right? So I'm not the wisest. I'm never going to know everything, right? Especially not now. But I feel like I still should share my ideas, right? And I feel like everybody should, you know? And I feel like you just have to keep going, you know? Like you have to just and what I might do is submit it to other magazines, right? And I really believe in this story because I actually read it a week after I wrote it, right? And I was like, wow, like this story is like amazing. Like I really like it, right? Like it's really nice. You know what I mean? Like the way it ended, right? It's not a perfect story, but it's one that resonated with me, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that you wanna get in your head, right? Is that there's a lot of things in life you can't control, right? And one of them is people's opinions about things, right? And in this case, it's people's opinions about your work, right? I feel like the most important thing that you want to have in your mind. So I feel like talking about things you can control and can't control, right? The one thing you can control is like you know what you like, right? You can say that like you could read a story and be like, I like it, I don't like it, right? And you can mold a story that fits your interest, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to fit everybody else's interest, right? But as long as you like it, I feel like that's the most important thing, right? Even if people think it's the raunchiest, trashiest, stupidest thing they've ever read in their life, if it resonates with you, that's all that matters, right? And I feel like that you should, you and I, everybody who's writers, right, should put that at the forefront of their mind. And I know this, right? But I'm saying that to honestly reinforce it to myself, right? And like my other video, if people find value from it, I consider that a blessing, right? I consider that like great, you know what I mean? Like somebody is taking value of that. But case in point, I feel like I don't really want to change the story. I feel like I'm very satisfied with it. I feel like the again, like I said, like submitting to a bunch of different magazines. I'm not really in the mental space right now. I'm actually doing fairly well, which makes it, believe it or not, harder to write stories because I feel like a lot of people, myself included, use that as a way of coping with negative emotions and negative experiences. If I'm going through a really tough time in my life, I might write a story that reflects um the underlying themes of what's making my life so hard and stressful, right? As a way of analyzing them and reframing them and gaining new perspectives, right? Let this video be an encouragement and a way to say that, you know, if you've been rejected, story writing, I understand you, even if it's just been this once, right? And that we all have to just kind of like, if this is what we really want, then there's no other path forward. There's no other path but to go forward, right? Unless you stop and then you give up. Then you're not going to be a writer. You know what I mean? So, hope this video resonates with somebody. And I think my next video is going to be on the second half of my principles of conversation. I said that, you know, if you guys like it, right? You know what I mean? Which I hope you guys like it, but I feel like regardless if you guys like it or not, it's something I'm passionate about, so I'm gonna make it anyway, right? But if you have video suggestions, right? Maybe I said an offhand comment or something that I didn't elaborate fully on, and you want me to elaborate more on that, right? Or you just have general ideas, general topics you want me to talk about, you can just leave them down in the comments, right? But like I said, I hope it resonated with somebody this video, right? And yeah, we'll see you next time.